Minecraft is the world's most popular sandbox game. Normally, you mine for resources, craft tools, and slowly build your way up to beat the Ender Dragon. But what if I just said no to all of that? Today, I will be attempting to beat Minecraft without mining or crafting. Before we begin, let's set some ground rules about the run. Rule number 1, I cannot break anything with my fists. No punching trees, no smacking dirt, no mining. The only exception I have for this rule is short grass. Short grass gives no advantages whatsoever, and I tend to accidentally smack it quite a bit throughout the run. To make sure I get nothing out of the short grass, I will throw out all seeds I get throughout the run. Rule 2, I can't craft anything, not in my inventory, not in a crafting table. Rule 3, I will play only in survival mode and on normal. So with that, we can get right into the run. The first thing I had to do was plan out the run. I fully believe the game is possible to be beaten without breaking any blocks, as there's tons of ways of getting into the Nether and the stronghold. But without crafting, that seemed impossible, as the only way to beat the game is to craft Eyes of Ender using blaze powder and ender pearls. Except on Minecraft version 1.8. Version 1.8 introduced updated villager trades, one of those new trades being Eyes of Ender for 7 to 11 emeralds. So for this challenge, we will have to use version 1.8.9, and I don't know if you played Minecraft 11 years ago, but the game looks and feels almost completely different. The first thing I do when I load into the world is start petting some cows, as leather can be traded for emeralds and beef is a pretty decent food source. I also pet a couple of sheep for their food and blocks, since blocks are pretty hard to come by without being able to mine them. I also obtained some pork chops, as they are one of 2 raw meats that can be traded for emeralds. While petting some animals, I stumbled across my first village of the run. Now, villages are obviously going to be very important in the run where I will be trading for Eyes of Ender. But what's even more important are the weaponsmith houses. Weaponsmith houses can contain a wide variety of things like armor, weapons, and food. Things otherwise almost impossible to obtain without mining or crafting. In this house, I get 2 iron chest plates, a single piece of bread, a gold ingot, some saplings, and some iron ingots. I use the saplings to cook a few of my raw beef because the only time I can cook food is anytime I find a village with a weaponsmith. Then I head out looking for structures and more friends to pet. You'll notice I spot a desert temple as night approaches, and you may be asking yourself, why not sleep in the village? Well, first off, in version 1.8, villages don't have beds. Like, if I ever die, I will go back to my original spawn point, and I'll have to walk all the way back. And almost every hostile nighttime mob is useful for the run. Zombies drop rotten flesh, which can be traded to clerics for emeralds, which is even more important than you think, because we need to level up clerics twice in order for them to start selling Eyes of Ender. Spiders drop string, which can be traded for emeralds. Skeletons drop arrows and rarely bows, which we'll need later in the run. And lastly, our best friend for the run, creepers. Creepers, when they explode, are our best source of obtaining blocks. After killing a few hostile mobs, I lure a creeper into the desert temple to open up the floor for me. I then carefully make my way down. And find a lot of rotten flesh and gold, both of which we can trade to cleric villagers. This is where the blocks come in handy, as we need to use them to climb out of the desert temple. Then, as night falls, I obtain one of the best resources we can obtain for cooking, wood. See, using creepers, I can blow up trees and obtain some wood, which doesn't cook that well on its own, but by smelting a log with a log, I can make charcoal, which should be able to cook 8 pieces of food. I also learned the hard way that skeletons on version 1.8 are insanely overpowered. If I didn't have this iron chestplate on, I would have died numerous times during the night. As the sun finally rises, I find my second village, full of mostly useless villagers, tons of librarians, which we will never be able to trade with, and clerics, which we will not be trading with until we have enough emeralds for the Eyes of Ender. In the savannah next to the village, I finally found some new animals, chickens, which is the other raw meat that can be traded for emeralds, and white sheep, which white wool can be traded to shepherds for emeralds, if I find one. As the day fades to night, I find my third village, and I kid you not, it's only 2 houses and a well. That's it. Even for being a tiny village, I find a butcher who's willing to trade 15 pork chops for 1 emerald, which is on the cheaper side of things, so I finally obtain our first 5 emeralds. If you were curious how far we are, Eyes of Ender sell for 7 to 11 emeralds each. So if I wanted 12 Eyes of Ender and I got the best deal possible, it would cost me 84 emeralds. So that puts us at roughly 6% completed with our Eyes of Ender. Sheesh. I ended up being kind of low on food, so I just decided to hide inside a house for night 3. While petting some more animals, I attempted to make my own cooked pork chops, but I underestimated my own strength. After almost getting completely destroyed by skeletons, I found some exposed coal in an extreme hills biome, and I had the idea to blow up some coal which could be used to cook food and logs. Unfortunately, creepers don't drop every block they blow up. So after almost dying 2 to 3 different times this night, and obtaining 0 coal, I decided that trees would be more efficient to blow up than surface coal at night. In my 4th village, I found a leather worker who gives us the cheapest possible leather for emeralds trade we can get, so I traded as much as I could to him before he wouldn't let me trade anymore. While petting animals, I finally did what I thought was impossible. After days of nothing but raw beef, I obtained 3 cooked pork chops. Now, I know that if I didn't cook the pig, I could have had 3 more raw pork chops, which is roughly 21% of an emerald. But I don't care. Raw food sucks. During the next graveyard shift, I made another attempt at obtaining coal because these creepers were set up too well not to. And it worked. We get 3 coal here, which is massive if we find a furnace to make charcoal and cooked food. While exploring the desert, I find my second desert temple. I end up getting 3 emeralds out of a chest. 3 emeralds is insane, and this opened me up to how insanely overpowered desert temples were going to be for the run, as they are much faster than petting animals. I also get a ton of gold and rotten flesh before making a clean getaway. In my next village, I find some pretty good deals, which puts us at an astounding 21 emeralds. All these trades are nice and all, but are weaponsmiths real? The thing I wanted most in this run was a way to cook my food. Listen, I'm a medium rare kind of guy, but I don't like it when my meat is still mooing. Right here, I notice I have a full inventory, so I throw out 29 iron ingots for 1 raw beef. Unfortunately, iron ingots are completely useless as I cannot craft with them and I won't be able to trade them for emeralds unless I level up a armor or weaponsmith, which we won't be doing. As the chunks loaded around me, these pigs had to remind me that I was playing on an 11-year-old version of Minecraft. I forgot how far the game has come until I played on this version again for this challenge. While exploring a jungle, I found our first jungle temple. Jungle temples have these dart traps in them, which are a very good source of arrows, which we will need later in the run. And as you can see, since I can't access this dispenser, I step on the trip over and over again to get all the arrows out of it. The chests in here are also a very good source of rotten flesh and gold. Without being able to mine, I had to actually solve the puzzle for the second chest instead of just mining to it like everyone else does. I had no idea how to solve the puzzle. I didn't even know where the door opened. I think this is the first time I actually did a jungle temple the intentional way. This might be the first time anyone has done a jungle temple the intentional way. After completing the jungle temple, I found a second one pretty close by. I understand it now. I completed it faster than Link manual super swimming to Dragon Roost. Also, this is a good time to talk about saddles. I figured there would be a lot of traveling between desert temples, jungle temples, and villages throughout the run. So, I grabbed a few saddles I found along the way. Are there no horses in version 1.8? I literally have not seen a single one yet. After killing hundreds of skeletons, one finally drops a bow. And not just any bow, one that has decent durability. Since we can't craft, this is about our only way of obtaining a bow, which will be necessary for killing the Ender Dragon. After looting a couple more desert temples, I found a house in an attempt to find a village. Yes, a singular house. Just some person living out in the country. And he's a scammer. Scammer and antisocial. Pick a struggle, man. My next village was quite the opposite though. I found something that I thought I was never going to see again. A furnace. I can finally turn some of these logs into charcoal and cook all of my food. Goodbye, raw beef. The chest also had some bread and boots. Still no weapon, but I'm not complaining. Besides the weaponsmith, this village was a complete bust. It somehow only had a bunch of clerics and librarians. And villagers don't have job blocks yet, and I don't even know if they can breed. I'm pretty sure villages just generate a ton of random villagers, and it's completely a dice roll on which ones you get. This village was the most useful and most useless at the same time, but I will not complain. 29 cooked beef and 16 cooked mutton is going to last me a long time. After looting another desert temple and making no run-losing mistakes, We set off to grind more emeralds. In our next village, I was so desperate for emeralds, I stomped out the villagers' crops in order to get enough wheat/carrots to trade a farmer villager for an emerald or two, since their crops were the most grown I'd ever seen. Which came in pretty handy, as little did I know the next village I would find would be the best thing that's ever happened to me this run. Almost every type of villager I could want to trade with really good deals. A weaponsmith house so I could cook more of my food, even though the chest still didn't have a weapon. The trades and furnace alone made me extremely happy. From 28 to 50 emeralds this village. This village actually carried the run, and saved me so much time. Now you might have noticed, probably not, that I've been stockpiling bones, and I have a lot. I mean, they're obtained almost everywhere. They're not tradable by any means, which makes them pointless. Almost. You see, I came up with this plan after seeing a taiga biome that I would hopefully find wolves and use them to harvest hostile mobs. Because doing it only by fist would be something only a crazy person would do. But this is literally the first time I found them, after almost being done obtaining all my emeralds I need. But hey, better late than never. And they're pretty cute. You can see how useful they are pretty quickly, and skeletons literally don't shoot me anymore as they run away in fear of my pack. Life just got a whole lot easier. In our next village, I find a cleric who is willing to trade 37 rotten flesh per emerald, the second lowest possible trade. And with the amount of emeralds I'm at, I think it's time to level up a cleric and finally buy our Eyes of Ender. Now here, I was hoping for 7 emeralds for each Eye of Ender. And we get 8, which honestly is not that bad. I'm only able to get 10 right now, and I want at least 11 because there's a pretty good chance for it to at least be a 1-eye portal. So we just farm a little bit more so we can finally get our 11th Eye of Ender. And as long as none of my eyes break on the way, we can finally enter the stronghold. In version 1.8, there are only 3 strongholds, and they only spawn in the first ring if you're playing on the current version of Minecraft. Which thankfully, we were decently close to. Kinda. We finally made the journey. And with 0 eye breaks, which is very lucky. Now you might be wondering, how do we get down there? Well, let's ask our best friend. That's right, we're going to blow up creepers over and over again until we can finally get into the stronghold. Thankfully, while blowing up down to the stronghold, we hit a cave, which saves us a few explosions. So now I try to get the creepers down to the lowest part of this cave so we can keep on keeping on. And boom, we strike another cave, and this one gets us into the stronghold. Now we just need to get to the portal room, so I tried to reverse navigate the stronghold until I hit a wall. Literally. The only way I can get back to the beginning of the stronghold is to blow up this iron door that doesn't have a button. I also learned through this that creepers in version 1.8 cannot fit through doors, or just didn't want to pass through the doors. So I had to blow up every door that led to the buttonless iron door. After a little bit of navigating and looting, we finally found the portal. And it's a 1-eye. Perfect. Now we just have to enter the end and defeat the Ender Dragon. Should be easy, right? Well, I'm used to playing on the current version, where the pillars are in a circle around the portal, and destroying them raises the chance of the dragon to perch in the middle above the portal. A really easy moment to hit the dragon over and over again. But that's not the case on version 1.8. In version 1.8, there's a bunch of random pillars everywhere, so I just have to go around destroying every single one of them, while watching my back, because the Ender Dragon will just fly straight at me, and if she hits me, it will probably kill me. Probably. It was actually not that bad, except for my arrow situation, which got pretty dire near the end. So I would wait for her to perch and make sure my shots landed so I didn't waste any arrows. But after a few more perches and a single arrow left, I defeated the Ender Dragon and beat Minecraft without mining or crafting. Here are my final kill totals, mostly done by fist, and proof that I didn't mine or craft anything. For some strange reason, in version 1.8, anything you cook in a furnace or anything you trade from a villager counts as a craft in the stats screen. As you can see, nothing was mined either. All of the short grass and tall grass count as the shrubs and sunflowers in the stats screen. I may have accidentally hit a flower or lily pad while punching mobs. This run took me almost 7 hours to complete, so if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe so I can grow and continue to make content similar to this. If you have any ideas of what you would like to see me do next, leave a comment. I read literally all of them. Thank you so much for watching.